tarot cards are often the first step and basis for a seeker of metaphysical knowledge, like you, to discover your forever path. That could be astrology, numerology, healing arts, or any other spiritual interest you discover along the way. Elaine Ireland is not only a teacher of tarot, she is a mentor who supports you and will be there for you. Visit www.ElaineIrelandTarotMaster.com now and discover how Elaine's mentoring, tarot card and psychic readings, tarot card classes, and more help you to grow into the true being you are meant to be. Welcome to Conversations with the Ancients, where you're about to discover a whole different world than the one that, up until now, you've believed you're familiar with. World-renowned metaphysicist, practicing psychic and tarot teacher Elaine Ireland invites you on a journey where you'll hear voices from the past, interviews with some of the greatest metaphysicians you've never heard of, because in their time, they needed to move with stealth. You'll also meet today's spirit mediums, healers, and others who will show you a side of the paranormal you've never seen before. Be sure you visit our website at conversationswiththeancients.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, hear the words of metaphysicians who blazed the trail. You're not in jail, thanks to them.
Hello, this is Laura Tree. That pretty lady with the white hair is Laura Tree. I've always envied her hair. It's so pretty. This is Elaine Ireland talking. Laura and I were just talking about when you're just talking casually. So I talked her into allowing me to record our casual conversation because we were talking about what's on the internet. And if you haven't seen her internet, you must go see it. Trees, Trees, space, temple. What I'm looking at is a picture of her beautifully standing in front of a tree with probably lake, downtown lake?
Yeah, Lady Bird Lake.
Lady Bird Lake.
Uh-huh.
She has a yellow top on with red pants.
Orange,
sorry. Behind her, up top, it says Laura Tree, Reiki Master, certification in Reiki, degrees 1-2 and Master, Crystal, Sound, Atlantean, with a trademark symbol, healing, Sanskrit, mantra for personal and global transformation, higher self readings. I love that term. Divinely inspired intuition. Great description of you. Violent flame transmutation. Want to talk about that more because so few people do that. And then a beautiful picture. And then I'm going to read to you folks. And she's probably going to have to step in with some of the words because I can't pronounce them. Hello, thank you for visiting my website. I am a multi-modality healing arts professional and instructor using Reiki as my foundation. Now, that's really important, public. Reiki is her foundation. Reiki means source, universal or God, and Kai, correct pronunciation, right?
So Ray and then Ki.
Okay, means life, force, energy. That's an important sentence, really important. She's a certified Reiki Master teacher. Now, in the USUI, I can't pronounce it. Pronounce it for us.
Oh, Usui Shiki Ryoho tradition.
I have a Reiki Master's and I can't say this. So she's at here. Tradition by mentor and RAJ Yogi Dean Williams in 1999. See how long she's been doing this, folks? Beyond that, I'm sure. I have been attuning, training, and certifying groups in the art of Reiki for over 20 years. In person. That's important, people. In person. Additionally, I've had the honor of certification in the
Ho'oponopono with the Dr. Hugh Lin, actually.
And he was a creator, actually, of that.
He was not the creator. It was the kahunas, the Hawaiian kahunas. But it's a big story, but he was the one that brought it to the public.
And Joe
Vitale. He wrote a book about it, yes.
Right. At least he brought it into a more public got it more publicly known, I guess you'd say.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think he studied with him. I know he went there and did a lot of research with him and completed sources in Atlantean healing, again, trademark, as a master practitioner in the Vedic tradition. I received multiple Gayatri, long form.
Gayatri.
What's long form? Why long form did you put in
Gayatri, the Gayatri mantra is used all over the world mostly, but it's usually used in its short form. So I was initiated in the long form, which is the original form. And my teacher, Thomas Ashley Ferrand, who I had for 9 years until his death, he said that it's possible that the short form was shortened and cut out the center chakra points or energy centers that does not give it its full power to all the people. And it was done by Brahmin priests who were, they weren't good. There was some sort of, I don't even know how to explain it because now this is going to need to be edited out.
No, it isn't. Fine.
No, it really will, because I'm trying to think how he explained that because it was so long ago. But they were corrupt, and so they changed it, sort of like what we hear about the Bible, that there were parts taken out in order for people not to get the full power within themselves. Same with these Brahmin priests in the Vedic tradition, in certain texts, and also in the Gayatri mantra. So the short form, I don't know it. I think it's Om Bur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varanyam. I don't do it, so I don't know it. I don't know the short form, but it's done all around the world.
And yet,
that's what most people know. They don't know the long form, which I'll teach you. I'll teach you. I want everybody to know it.
Okay, let's get back. You want to do that today, or you want to have another session and we'll just get back to it?
Well, I don't know. What do you want to do?
No, this is yours.
Okay,
this is
all
your
right.
time.
Okay, so the long form of the Gayatri mantra is Om Bur, Om Bhuvaha, Om Spaha, Om Maha, Om Janaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam, Om Tat Savitur Varanyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dio Yonaha Prachodayat. And you can...
That's long.
That's the long form.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. And you can end it with a bija or a seed sound for Lakshmi or Ganesha. So Shreem or Gum or Kleem, whatever you want to amplify with that.
Why is that important to amplify? You said different words. So why are there different words, words of choice?
Because they're different. They're different gods and goddesses, and they have certain bijas or seed sounds. And so those you can put on the end. A lot of people have a Ishta Devata, house Deva, that they have used throughout the family, which could be Lord Ganesha, Hanuman, Mahalakshmi, all these in the Vedic tradition. Yeah, I mean, and many, many more. Sarasvati, I don't want to leave anybody out, but many. And so they will put the bija on the end of the Gayatri in order to bring forth that energy from their personal deva.
Would that be similar to saints, angels?
Yes.
Amen.
Yeah, because the English term for deva is angel.
See, public, why I do this?
It's all one. It's all one.
Yeah.
Like Archangel Michael would be a deva, he's a deva as much as, they're an angelic, a celestial being.
This is an opening for me to ask. Please don't be offended. I believe, I do not ask anyone else to believe, that whatever you call a god, because we have so many cultures around the world that in the past knew nothing of each other. We didn't have phones and computers and such. Some parts of the world didn't even know that another island existed, much less a belief system. So I believe it's all one energy, that there are many kinds and designations. I saw a cartoon, it was meant to be a cartoon, but it happened to be in a religious folder of some sort. And they had these different people sitting around a table, and it was God and Buddha, although Buddha is not looked at as a god, but he was still included. And all of these other people, characters, energies, and they were all talking about, don't they realize it's all the same thing? And out of their crown chakras were little swifts of air or something that were all curling.
Oh, and
It was
intertwined.
intertwined. I had to be in my 20s when I saw that. And I have never forgotten it. And I'm getting ready to hit 80. So what an impactful picture. I saw something similar to that years later, but they were all sitting, it was really redneckish, if you'll pardon the expression, because it was the same kind of gathering, but they were sitting on a porch, and there were tables in front of them, like those tables we used to fold out in front of us and put food on in front of a TV trays. And they had those sitting in front of them, kind of in a semicircle with beers, long neck beers, and they were clinking each other, and they were saying, they're getting it. They're finally getting it.
A long time ago, when I first started getting into the Vedic tradition and when I first started teaching yoga, I was at this little shop in Little India in California, in Artesia. And so I walked into this little shop, and I didn't know who all the gods and goddesses were then. I had a little idea, but not a lot. So I walk in, there was a case with all these gods in there. And so I asked, the man who ran the shop, who owned the shop, was a little Pakistani man. And he had his turban and everything off, but this was mostly Vedic tradition in there, although there were some Sai Baba things. Anyway, he said, when I said, is that the god Shiva? I asked about this one, like little tiny murti, little statue that was in there. And he's like, oh, he says, that is Shiva. He says, but no. He goes, it talked to me just like I was like perfect for an introduction, just like you would a little child. And he said, no, he said, all these are little G's. Little G's, he says, all of them. And then he goes, but the one, he says, there's only one big G.
Oh.
All these are little G's. And so he said, just like we. So anyway, he transformed my whole thought about the Vedic tradition. Because, they think of all the gods, but no, they're all aspects of the divine.
Thank you. Aspects. I couldn't describe it earlier. I think of it as facets. I wanted to say facets, but they're not.
Yeah, that's perfect too. Yes, that's perfect too, because that's what, we are too. And just different levels or frequencies, vibrations of the one. We all are.
No one, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever you want to name it. Our creator, we're all fractals of that, which is.
I think the word creator, I in my classes and mentoring, I tell people that particular word, any word we happen to be talking about sometimes, is very fluid. And the word God or creator is very fluid. The word, to me, creator, is one of the most important words in the English language. Creator.
Yeah, and source too. Our source.
Yeah.
Source of all. Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, back to this. It's long. And I'm doing this for a purpose, and I'll tell y'all when we're through with it here. Renowned Vedic priest and foremost Western authority in Sanskrit and Buddhist mantra. My teacher for 9 years until his passing, from the lineage of SRI, and you're going to have to say that.
Sri Kesavadas, and Krishna.
And Krishna. Now, some of us oldies will recognize the word Krishna from the 1960s and 70s and their beautiful orange robes passing out flowers.
Oh,
are we on the same page here?
Well, that's Ishkan, which is the international it's Krishna consciousness. It's a type of they honor Krishna completely, 100%. But Krishna is not really associated with that one. It's like, okay, let's put it this way. It's like Methodist, Protestant, Catholic. Everybody believes in Jesus, but they all have like a little different take on it. Like that.
See, public, how we are all the same and yet different?
Yeah.
Because of our cultures.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Omadon, did I say it right? Omadon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Founder. What is Omadon?
Omadon was the first yoga studio in not in Orange County, but in Seal Beach, California. And Jack Ebner was the founder and creator of that.
Along with my daughter, Lonnie Dickerson, twisted my arm and body in 2000 to begin teaching one of my true loves, Hatha Yoga. Little Crow, I love this following sentence. Little Crow of American Indian Church was an influential teacher to me throughout the 90s for 9 years until he transitioned. Little Crow of American Indian Church. See how Laura has mixed customs, but yet basic learning modalities. I love that. Until he transitioned, he encouraged me to lead meditation circles. I have so many who have enriched my path. Thank you for acknowledging all of those teachers to that point. There are many more. I've been extremely blessed to have sat at the feet of the master throughout my life. I'm honored to, when I say I mean Laura. I'm honored to have received intuitions, tutelage, and lifetime friendships with these highly adept, loving teachers. All my instruction and certifications have been received in person through direct transmission. I'm so glad you put it that way, through direct transmission. That is so important. In today's world, we are blessed to have what we have in terms of Zoom, whatever, other methods of communication that heavens in the 70s and 80s, not everybody had access to. So that is important. And especially for those people that do not have any way to get to, perhaps they're incapacitated in some way. Yeah. So we have that blessing. But when we can do it in person, I really encourage you folks to do that. Go feel the human energy that you're getting, especially when you're learning something like Reiki. Yes, you can stay at home and you can read a lot about it. You can memorize the symbols, you can practice the symbols, but it is not the same as doing the handwork and the energy work. I found Reiki, and I share this with just about anybody that says, where do I start with healing? I automatically go to Reiki. I also send people to Reiki, or did when I was teaching psychic development classes, because of the way it teaches focus and being able to truly receive and send focus about almost any tool you're trying to learn. But when you're learning a healing tool, it is such a phenomenal foundation to have, whether you ever intended to use it as part of a practice or just something personal. So when you say that through direct transmission, that's powerful. And I'm afraid people will read this and just not get that. That's why I draw attention to it. You vocalize this so beautifully. Where did this all begin? In my heart. Yes, I love that. And with an herb book in high school called Back to Eden by Jethro Klaus. Klaus or Klaus?
Klaus. I think it's Klaus.
We'll call it by Jethro. Now, that's important because I'm going to add that to our library collection on this website that goes with this podcast. I believe that's important. I'm having everyone that I talk to recommend a book, or in today's world, a DVD or whatever that helped them in some way. I know that some of these books will no longer be in print, but you can go to, now I've lost it. I'll get there in a minute. Good libraries, of course. But I have lost the name of it. It's a site. We'll get back to it. But I would like to include that book in the library so people can go find it. Yeah.
I have a lot of good
After,
books. That'd be
well, then send me a list because
yeah,
I
a
want
lot.
this to be an educational process. Yes, for people.
Yeah. I
After
would
my
say
initiate,
one of the best books about metaphysics and all, and all of how if you're into the Vedic tradition, if you want to learn more about that, if you have not read Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, that is such an opener. And in fact, speaking about direct transmissions, I did, of course, did not know Paramahansa in this life, but I am quite sure that I was with him when he was here. But when I read that book, he would come and give initiations in my dreams while I was reading that book. And I mean, it was wild. There's no way you could say, oh no, that was just a dream. It was definitely an initiation. So get the book, Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. He was my first guru. And still is. I mean, I've had many teachers, but he was the one that opened the gate and the floodgates, I would say, in
that's
that.
important to acknowledge. Yeah, that's important to acknowledge. But when you discovered the book and accepted his initiations, you had already been practicing to some degree,
Oh, yeah.
I suspect.
Yes, yes, yes.
And that kind of initiation is not likely to happen to somebody who's really new in the process. Question
Could.
mark?
It could. I mean, it could happen to anybody, you know, but I do know that I had been on a path for a long time. I was a seeker, you know, mostly I was connected with the Native American tradition and also Tibetan Buddhism, but when I read that, I think I had just finished reading a lot of Emerson's prose, and so I was in that. It was during the first part of the 90s, last part of the 80s, and it was just like all of a sudden I couldn't get enough of all that. It was just flooding in. All that was just flooding in. And I think it was for a lot of people at that time. But
I do too, knowing what time frame you're talking about. Yes.
yeah, because it wasn't the harmonic convergence, which was what, 87?
Yes.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I think I felt differently. I think I felt like I was starting to change my life, or awaken, as they call it now. Then it was just like, yeah, it was definitely opening a door into a new version of self, but not belief system. That had always been. I'd always been wanting to know more and more and more and more, as I think a lot of us do. And then life kind of blocks that a little bit, and then we start in again. It's kind of like that one step forward and two steps back. One step forward, two steps back.
You feel like it's stepping back, and I'm not arguing with you about this, but because I've experienced that too. We get married, we have kids, our attention has to be given someplace else. We have careers. Your professional career is amazing as well. And I'll explain that comment later. But we do. But I firmly believe every single day, whether we realize it or not, we grow. One day it may be an 1/100th of an inch. The next day it may be by leaps and bounds. But because we did make an agreement to come back, of course, most of us in the metaphysical world believe we live more than one life. I don't think we ever go back. I think we may consciously stop to pay attention to something else in our life. But the experiences that we're having during that time, like raising children, creating a career, going further education that suits and serves us in a different kind of reality, we are still growing spiritually because of what happens in addition to that. The friendships that we make, the experiences that we have, the challenges that we have, we grow from them because we learn lessons from them. So if we ever stop, people may feel like I say that, I put that on hold. But in reality, I know I didn't. I just had to refocus. That's it. And I'll explain that when we go over some of her. This is what I did while I was doing this. We're talking about now. It's amazing. Absolutely
Well,
amazing woman.
I just want to say that I agree 100% with what you just said. We don't really go back, but we go in a different direction. And oftentimes people will say, oh, yeah, I was really, lost in my shadow. But you see, those things are teaching us and raising our elevation, even though we might be in like a dark space. It could be, and whatever it might be, drugs, drinking, whatever that might be, it's showing what you don't want. Even though you're doing it, you're still feeling that you don't want it. So then you're going forth. And once you do get back on your path in the sense of raising your consciousness, then you will have, once you start helping people, whether it's at the grocery store, if you're working at a grocery store, whether you are, at a park and you start talking to somebody, whatever that is, if they are in that same experience, then you're going to be able to relate to that. And that in itself is assisting in some way, because you're in your space and you're thinking about that, and you're raising their vibration just by being in the presence of anybody. We all take care of one another all the time without even thinking about it.
Yes. Thank you.
We do, and regardless of what we're doing, whether we're practicing, Reiki person or psychic or, shaman, whatever. We don't have to be those things. We can just be a person in a regular job doing, because we all did that anyway. We all had regular jobs in, little grocery stores and bookstores and just, whatever.
Which is where I met at Nature's Treasures, a bookstore. We'll talk about it in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. After my initiation, Laura, meaning Laura, to plant realms, came to Crystal World, the Crystal World, along with lots and lots of meditation, years of spiritual practice, and depths of study. Good comment. Source provides all of us with a celestial, terrestrial, and elemental light beings to work alongside us on our path, some in body, some not. An immense blessing for which I am eternally grateful. Many healing systems are imbued in my practice, hers, tucked in a toolbox for the right individual or collective moment. Such an important statement. Everything we experience, we will eventually share with someone who needs it. Mm-hmm. Even if we have to say it to remind ourselves that, hey, we can do this. I've had clients come to me and spirit will tell them something and I'm going, oh, I guess I needed to hear that. I'm saying that while I'm saying something else to myself. Yet for me, Reiki provides a clear, unwavering foundation, allowing the divine to orchestrate itself in highest frequencies, individual to each pet, person, location, or situation requiring assistance. You got a big heart, girl. Reiki, if we listen, ask us to get out of our own way and let Source do its perfect work through us. I'm going to read that again. Reiki, if we listen, ask us to get out of our own way and let Source, whatever your source is, public, do its perfect work through us. As a practicing, I'm going to say psychic, that's probably the hardest thing to teach anybody. When I was teaching psychic development, trust, I'm going to put the word trust on that sentence because it's hard to trust and let go. What is Source? So many people are afraid that Source, whatever it is to them, or image they might have, is going to take over and they'll never get it back. What have I started and I can't turn it off? So we have to know that we have to trust that we are in control. We have to let ourselves know and trust ourselves, but at the same time, step aside so that energy can come and do its work. I thought you were reaching for a cat.
Water.
I don't know
I
where
did
those
see I did see them peeking in at me over there. They're like,
Speaking of water, there we go. I don't know whether y'all heard it or not, but my Zoe was talking a few minutes ago, and I don't know how much these speakers will pick up, but every now and then you're going to hear a cat. I guarantee it. You have two, right?
two,
I
Tarzan
have two.
Beyond.
I think I've met one of those. Your newest one.
They were brothers. They came at the same time.
Did I take care of them? I took care of the blind kitty and one more.
Oh, yeah, that was Baba.
Baba. Yeah.
Baba
Such a,
T.
yeah, that was
Little
such a
Baba
cute.
T.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that's what Laura has written on her website. And I really encourage you folks. There are several different areas of websites that pop up when you just simply type in Laura Tree, different things. And I encourage you to go to hit on every button because there's something more every time. Laura and I met at Nature's Treasures. I mentioned that a while ago. I don't think she'd been in Texas. Had you been in Texas very long?
No,
When you,
no, not living. I used to visit here, in Austin, but no, when I first met you, I had just moved here.
she walked up to my table at that time, and still, Nature's Treasures had practitioners of all kinds that would come in every day, sometimes one, sometimes two, and be available to the public for readings or treatments or whatever. And at that time, I was the only one there. And I look up, and here is this beautiful lady standing in front of me, and she introduced herself. And I felt like I'd been hit in the throat. And I thought, now that's an interesting sensation. And I knew that we knew each other from past lives. I knew it. And you said you were new at Nature's Treasures and da da da. And then off you went to help somebody. And we didn't see each other very often, except at Nature's Treasures periodically. And you weren't always there on the same day that I was. But over time, slowly, we became friends. And we decided to go on an all-day, adventure
That
around
was the
Austin.
best day. That was the best day.
We had fun. We went out to the lake. I knew she was missing water. She's from California, so she's got to dip her toes in the sand every now and then. We don't have that here, but I took her to the next best thing we had, which was our beautiful lake system. Ate at a place that I thought she might have fun with, overlooking a small body of water. Call that one a river. It was easy to become friends with Laura because she didn't demand friendship. She allowed friendship. And even though we don't see each other, and I only took one Reiki class with her, which I could kick my butt for not taking more of her classes now that I know she's about to change the direction in her life. And she won't be here in Austin, Texas very much longer, and that makes me very sad. I'm very sad for the times that I missed and could have learned from you on a different level. I certainly consider you one of my mentors in a different way, but thank you for that. But I'm trying to prove a point here to the public about who we are. That's her intentional education that she took on herself at her expense and her time and her devotion, leaving an open mind about where she'd stay and what track she would follow. She sent me a backup, which I found fascinating. And I highlighted some things, girlfriend. See the highlights? This printed out. I don't know what the other one would. But this lady here has been a wife and a mother. Before she got to all of this, she was putting on fashion shows for a major department store, doing window design for specialty boutiques. See all that creativity coming out? She needed to be home more for her daughter, so she started an eco-friendly cleaning business called Bless This House. So you, Laura, so you. For
When
9
I would
years.
clean the mirrors, I would put alms on their mirror or little blessings on the mirror, and then I'd wash it.
I love it. She and I had a cleaning business. The first woman, single woman, not a family, but single woman to own a cleaning business in the state of Texas. That's me. The men didn't like it so well. Okay. blessed this house for 9 years. Then a specialty gardener business, Garden of Eden, that's also very appropriate for you, 9 or 11 years, was studying tarot, was reading tarot for your, it says I'm sure you meant me, and my daughter's friends, and doing healing on her energetically when she was small, as well as herbal work, crystals and plants. Then she started working with crystals we could only feel with our own intuition. Then melodies, and that was it. Melody is an author of a book, Melody, came out like a godsend. So you said, as I had plus, so I had that plus the Autobahn Field Guide for Proper Identification. Now listen to that, public. She
I've
did
got
this.
it somewhere. I've got a bookcase right here. I know it's in there.
She did this. She mixed. She honored the science of the Autobahn research and melody, Melody, if you want to go looking for her series of books about crystals. Beautifully done books, pictures, explanations, metaphysical meanings. Love is in the earth, right? I have those too. I love them. If you could see, yeah. But Laura took both sides and honored both sides, the science and the metaphysical, which not everybody does. You've always had a way with animals and nature. As a child, I would read the intentions and energy of adults, as most can who pursue the metaphysical. I agree with you there. But kids, I think all kids have a way of picking up. They say if animals and children don't like somebody, there's a reason. They may not be able to verbalize it. Or if they really, really, really trust somebody, then maybe that's an open door for you to trust too, if you have some reason to not.
Right.
Basics, we've talked about her Reiki stuff. We did all that a while ago. I liked the idea when you said you went looking for a Reiki master. Not easy before the web. While asking around, I ran into a lot of unbalanced so-called Reiki masters, and it took you approximately 4 years to find the real deal. He was Brahma Kumari, right? Kumari, at an ashram meditation center near your home in Seal Beach. He's now 93. Is a dear friend.
Dean Williams.
Dean Williams. Okay, he's a dear friend and remains a bounty of spiritual wisdom. I think it's important that you knew enough about what you wanted to learn, sometimes instinctively, sometimes because you've already learned something, and you knew the difference between a true master or one who would be your teacher. And I like what you said. Some were unstable, and yet they were using the tool.
They were.
And had maybe been doing it long enough to have a following, and that's how you found them. But you didn't stick with them.
I just met them, actually. It was, it's just how we would say when we meet, like when you go to a metaphysical expo, we say, well, just walk around and see who draws you in, and go to that person. Don't go to where somebody tells you to go. Just, use your own intuition and go to that person. Well, these people, they would say, go to this person. This person is a Reiki master, and they might have been from a good lineage, but whatever else they were doing in their life had not yet elevated to what Reiki master can do for an individual. And that's normal. That's normal. That's like church on Sunday stuff. Either you operate with it. You operate with it all the time. It becomes part of you. It emanates from you, or it's just a thing you do that you've learned, and so you haven't immersed yourself in the practice, or you haven't grounded in it. You haven't grounded in it, and it was like they weren't stable. Period. In my eyes, and it wasn't judgment, it was discernment. So that's a really important distinction, is judgment and discernment. A lot of people.
I'm so glad you said that. So glad you said that, because in our world, we use that all the time, and sometimes we don't even know we're using it. We try as practitioners and human beings to not judge, but we also need to know what's best for us. Now, some people say, in the metaphysical world. We signed up for the lesson. So if you need to be in somebody's class that you know is not stable, there's a reason. There's a reason for you to experience that person and then go someplace else. So you'll truly know the difference. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah.
But sometimes we don't need to do that because we already see that's where we don't need to be.
Right.
So
It's like
explain.
a marriage. People will stay in a marriage, a bad, or not a bad, a marriage that doesn't feel the best, for many
Relationship that is
years,
challenging.
and then others are like, okay, done. You know, they see where
Sometimes
it's
that's
going.
like a light switch. I'm out of here.
Right,
Come on. Yeah.
right.
Okay, then now this is important, public. Really, really important because I think Laura does this. I do this. I tell people to read the ancients. If you're going to buy a tarot deck, read that author, but also note who that author refers you to in the bibliography. Most do these days. They have a bibliography. Read those books too, because it relates to what they've put together for their deck, whatever tool it is, astrology, numerology, Reiki, whatever. I like this. During the 90s, was reading a lot of philosophy. Important word. Emerson. I always say this woman's name right. Blavatsky, Blavatsky.
That's right.
Amazing woman. Amazing. Read the material she wrote. And then there were some additions. There was some editing done by people years and years and years later. But she's also mentioned in some of the books and stories told about her in books that were written by people that she entertained in her intellect parlor evenings. Some of the finest minds of the time. She was known for those gatherings. Quite the woman. Quite the woman. Loved it. Okay, Alice Bailey. Oh, a shelf full of books. This woman. You describe Alice Bailey. I get too excited.
Well, Alice Bailey covered everything. She was, but then, there was a lot of information that was very similar to Helena Blavatsky. There was, that she also dealt with the Tibetan and oh gosh, who else?
She was she was a channel.
Yeah, she was definitely a channel, but I mean, there's like the Triest on White Magic. That's a really good one. There's so many different ones. It's just like go to what you're drawn to, but anything Alice Bailey, amazing, amazing. And it just kind of charts its own course, each one, really. It's the same but different, but it's all the same metaphysical path with all these spiritual teachers that are coming in as guides for her.
Yes. And I'm one to start with the first of something in a series. And I tried to do that with her. Yeah, I tried to do that. But I worked at Book People at the time. I worked for Crystal Works. And Kathleen, who owned it, had a space inside Book People. So on my breaks and such, I would run back to the book section, and they might have 4 or 5 titles, and that was it. I don't think they ever had from one to ending of any of the books. They got what they could get, and they were new books. Well, I would buy what they had, so it wasn't all. Sometimes, and some of Alice Bailey books come in 2 sections, and I'd buy 2. And then go look for one at a used bookstore. You rarely find her books in a used bookstore. Yeah. So you can go on Amazon. You can go on U.S. Game Systems, who produces the Rider-Waite deck, along with many, many others. I don't think I've ever seen the entire collection anyplace. I'm missing like 3. And I every now and then will go on a search for them. They've got a little pricey because the collectors have caught on. They can, yeah. I look at every time I see a garage sale and somebody has books, I go, what the heck? I'm going to go see. I check everywhere for those 3 titles. It's important. But what I found, and all 3 of those kind of fit sort of in the middle somewhere. So I'm happy for that. But with her books, She started out with one major Tibetan monk. I think I'm describing him correctly. That was a living person, which at that time was very unusual to have a living person send and being and dictating a book of sorts. So that within itself was unusual. That continued. Other people came through her. She was truly a fabulous medium of that generation. But can you tell I'm excited about Alice Bailey? What
And
the match? Yeah. Go ahead.
can I
But
say that one thing I didn't leave out of that list was the I Am Discourses. The I Am
not that one.
Discourses by Saint Germain. I Am Discourses, but there's one other, these three. They're the first three, and they are life-changing, honestly. So they have a lot of America, you know, rah, rah. And they also have you know, there's like it's all he and he said, and you know, it's more geared toward, you know, man as the hierarchy, you know. So that is kind of like you just have to like get through it. You just have to ignore it and just know that that's just the way of the speaking of in that time. But boy, talk about life-changing. I Am Discourses was my favorite, though. Unveiled Mysteries was the other one. Unveiled Mysteries, I Am Discourses, Godfrey Ray King.
R-A-Y or R-A-E? Probably R-A-Y.
R-A-Y.
R-E-Y is usually referred to the feminine.
And his real name is Guy Ballard. That was his pen name. His real name is Guy Ballard.
I have not heard of these books. How have I
Oh
not
my
heard
gosh,
of these
Elaine,
books?
you would just go nuts. It's just amazing. So that is all about his Godfrey Ray King, Guy Ballard. That is all about the story of being in Mount Shasta and meeting Saint Germain.
Oh, I've got to read that book.
And Saint Germain takes him on a journey that changes his entire life.
See, public, we are
all about the power of
daily.
Yeah, it's all about the power of the I am, and we have that I am.
Oh, say that again. The power of I am. Say that. You say it.
The power of the I am. I am. The I am would be source or our creator. And so Saint Germain is a servant of that, but also a teacher that is beyond. And in the I Am discourses, there are discourses from many parts, from many of the masters, and Jesus being one of those. It's wild, and it's amazing, and I believe it. Like a lot of people go, "Do you really believe that?" And I really believe it. I honestly do. But then I believe.
See, we are available. I know this is going to sound funny. We are available to source to continue to be taught if we will get out of our own way.
Yes.
Folks, if you don't hear anything else today, please remember that. And Laura laid that on the table because of her experiences. None of us are going to walk the same path. Even if we were to follow in somebody's footsteps, Laura's or anybody else's, and even if we put our feet exactly in every single footstep, it's never going to be the same because we're not meant to have the exact experiences. Our spirit has other things to learn, but that doesn't mean that that energy won't resonate with us and we can put it in our spirit the way we need it and committed to learning it. But we have to get out of our own way and take it within. Mm-hmm.
My Reiki master, when I first took in 1998, when I met him, he said that before I had taken the Reiki level 1 and 2, he said, the hardest thing you're ever going to do is get out of your own way. He told me that, and I was, what? You know, but he did, because I had been studying other modalities and I was enamored with world religion since high school. So I was studying all these different traditions and I had my ideas about how healing methods worked and this, you know, this and that. but he was so right. He was absolutely right. I did have to get out of my own way, and I continue, and we all do throughout our entire life. As soon as we think something is cut and dried, something will be thrown in our face, or into our heart, and say, no, look at this. There's a different perspective.
And sometimes things get in the way. I've had some experiences the last 3 years where everything in my world had to stop. And for close to a year, I would do maybe a reading a week, maybe. All my classes came to a standstill because my service was needed somewhere else by someone else. And it was okay. I knew it was okay. And I learned a lot about myself, my inner strengths, that person's inner strength, how we could navigate as a couple through those challenges. And that was important for me to learn the value of the number 2 and the value of the number 3. So I didn't get out of my own way in that sense. I just shut everything down and put it on a back burner, knowing I would come back to it. And now in the last 2 months, I've been able to focus on this. So I can put stars like you out there in the public, and they can hear why we do the things that we do. And it may sound like I was regurgitating what you said today, but I wanted to read it because I know that when people go on websites, they often don't read everything. And I wanted to draw attention to your words so they could use them to the best of your ability. And I also wanted them to know your personal background. And that's getting back to the books, because you spent your money, your time, your energy to read them, and to read as things like Emerson and Blavatsky and Alice Bailey. Those are not easy to read, folks. But if you will let your soul read them, they will be with you forever. Everything we read and hear goes to our subconscious and our super sub, and it's always there. And even if we can't pronounce the words, like I can't pronounce half of what Laura said today, but I have them now, and I will understand them. It doesn't matter whether I could pronounce them or not. I can understand. And that's the importance about, please read. Okay, we've got Alice Bailey, period. I've been studying with Native American teacher Little Crow, a.k.a. Carl Bryant, delving into Tibetan Buddhism, and a friend was introducing me to ISKCON.
ISKCON, that's the Krishna group that I was talking about. Yeah, she was into
Kirtan, Kirtan?
Yes, and so she introduced me to Kirtan, which is devotional singing.
Right. That's another part of
that was in the early 90s, and there was just like all this stuff coming in, which was perfect.
I was also initiated astrally. We've talked about that through dreams, reading Autobiography of a Yoga. We've talked about that. I also found it interesting that you began attending the Church of Religious Science, which became a non-denominational guide for me into the proper techniques of meditation and manifesting through proper wording of prayer.
Yeah.
I remember that church, and it really was looked down upon as a scary organization for people to attend. And all I could do was just smile.
Did you go?
And I went to 2 sessions. We only had one here in Austin for years. There was only one. And as it turned out, I went to 2 and went, okay, I'll be back. And I don't know why I never went back. 2. I really enjoyed the sessions that we had there. And I thought, this is my space, because traditional churches did not accept me. Once they found out that I not only did that for work, I did this. And then all of a sudden, I was the devil's thumb. So organized religion, I had a hard time with, because they're not supposed, how Christian of them to be judgmental. That was my thing. Believe it or not, my friend that was Pentecostal, I was more accepted by the Pentecostal church than any of them I attended. And they're usually really hard on those people that do not have the same belief system. But their thing was talking in tongues, being healers, acknowledging psychics, but you had to do it in the walls of the church. You did not do it outside. You didn't even talk about it outside. But when I took my friend there and her entourage, I was accepted. Short skirts and all, I was accepted. Even got to go to lunch with them. Talk about people who can tell dirty jokes.
Really?
I loved being with. They were so funny. But the Church of Religious Science, being a non-denominational guide for proper technique of meditation and manifesting through proper wording of prayer, that prayer would not have been connected at that time by the public to Church of Religious Sciences, because religion is not supposed to be a science. That's the theology that is often not accepted, that theology approach to religion. Religion, when I was growing up, was you just accept it. It's up there. Whatever the Bible says, that's it. Theology says, no, wait a minute. Science of religion says, wait a minute. That was another reason why I enjoyed my 2 sessions there. I really did. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I would like to accentuate the fact that in all my study and intuition being in person, except Parama,
Paramahansa Yogananda's initiations. Yeah.
I love these words. I wish they would roll off my tongue. After starting the Reiki practice, other modalities, this is important, folks, other modalities, spiritual gifts began to present themselves. That's what she was talking about a while ago, about one thing leads to another. I'm paraphrasing here. Theosophical Retreat Center in the Sequoias.
Yes, Far Horizons.
Yeah, from day one, it changed my life and became my primary teacher for 9 years until his death.
That was Thomas Ashley Ferrand, my Sanskrit mantra teacher.
Sanskrit. Divinely appropriate teachings of many traditions has led me to now be able to provide mentorship in relationship to elevated consciousness and light realms, including, but not limited to, Devic, celestial, terrestrial, the earth, elemental, crystal communication, and facilitation of healing with these light beings, yourself included. That's in her parentheses. I teach now to use the light codes of Sanskrit mantra to beneficially shift perception. That's a deep sentence, girlfriend.
Well, because it's a vibrational language. It's called the mother tongue. And it is, they've done clinical studies that show that it changes your energy, as does Hebrew, and I think it's what is the singing, the beautiful singing that they do in the old church. I think they also did it in Gnostic, but the Catholic Church, what are they called?
The chants.
The chants. But they're Benedictine.
There's a big choir. There's a Benedictine, huge mock choir that, it's celestial.
So Latin, it's not Latin itself. It's the way the Latin is sung in the old tradition. That's another one that can change you vibrationally.
You can find some of those on the internet. I can't remember where you can plug them into your ears and go to sleep to them.
Oh, well, those are the different Hertz tones, right?
No, not the tones. This is the choir. The choir singing in the way that you're discussing. And I'll have to look on my list because I haven't listened to them for years. See, we go back to what we need to go back to when we have these conversations. It's wonderful. I love it. I use and teach diamond violet flame transmutation. Engage the body, elemental, in recalibration. That's a big word, recalibration. Or optical realignment of our physical divine blueprint. I love that you use the word blueprint there because it is. It is. That's a big sentence. I use and teach diamond violet flame. Tell us what that is so the public will know.
So the diamond violet flame was brought forth by Saint Germain in the I Am discourses. I think it was like the 1800s, could be the early 1900s. I don't do timelines that well. But anyway, what it is it's available for everyone. It's not like I do that. I just learned it, and anybody can learn it. Do not go online and look for it, because some will say, oh, send me this amount of money and we'll initiate you into it. Baloney. You don't need anyone to initiate you in it. You just need to learn the steps, and that is calling in the diamond violet flame or the violet flame, whatever you choose to use. And you practice, you kind of bring in a little sing-song like cosmic diamond violet flame. I call to you in all God's names to bring forth transmutation for this situation, whatever it might be that you're working with. And you can make up your own little sing-song thing, but you have this way of doing it. It comes from your heart, from you. Now, there are many verses that are written by Patricia Cota Robles. There's other ones that teach it, so you can learn the verses through them. Also, Florence, what is that? The Game of Life. What is that one, Elaine?
I don't remember.
Florence. Anyway, that's like
I know which one you're talking about, but it's
probably the 40s, I think. Anyway, she has verses for the violet flame. So you just use the violet flame to transmute difficult habits, to bring in more abundance, to create peace, to help bring peace to earth by bringing in that energy and allowing the violet flame, which is given by source to Saint Germain. You use that in order to shift the vibration of things that are not serving humankind.
I love it.
Or yourself, addictions, whatever the case may be, or behaviors, your children's something, you can, because we can be surrogates for our children, so just using that and always saying in the highest good of all concerned, whatever you do, always for yourself or anybody else, in the highest good of all concerned. And that way it's serving everyone. It's not self-serving. So that's important.
And it's also expressing, I'm not trying to control you.
Exactly.
Which I think is really important. Yeah.
And I'm just going to plug Paul Selig here, because he's been channeling the guides for years and years. His books are amazing. I Am the Word.
I have not read his, it's interesting. I'll see his stuff on shelves and I don't reach for it.
Well,
I should.
He's amazing. He is amazing. Let's just say he would say, no, I am not the teacher. He would say that. I've done some of his workshops and he's marvelous, but he is the transmitter. He's the channel. He is the one that takes the dictation, and puts it out there from the guides.
Say his name again, please.
Paul Selig, Selig. Amazing. And that's another thing I do want to say is that I had not had a teacher since the early 2000s, since mid 2013, I think, is when my Sanskrit mantra teacher made his transition. And I haven't had an in-person teacher that I've been called to be with. But now the guides who are channeled through Paul Selig and the books that are written through him, I've taken some of those workshops and read many of the books. And I mean, for me, I was very drawn to those because it's direct transmission from source. I think we're all, we all are drawn to certain things. And I was interested. And when I saw that he was going to be right here in Austin, Texas, I was like, I'm going. Yeah.
Maybe I just walked by them because I wasn't ready to read them.
Yeah,
I wasn't ready to connect.
Well, I know for myself, I saw him on YouTube, Paul, on YouTube, years and years and years ago. And the way he channels is he'll speak what he's getting, and then he'll speak it to the audience or to, the video or whatever it is. And it takes a while to get used to that. And it was kind of crazy making, actually. I was like, and I listened to him. And I was like, okay, that's, I don't know that I can do him, but then I kept being drawn back because the message was so important. The message was so important. And the more I listened, the easier it became to decipher the whole thing, and it became it is now just very easy. So I highly recommend him as his channeled work.
I wrote it down.
Yeah.
Reminder.
Yeah.
I use crystal, Tibetan singing bowls. I love those both. And percussion to raise individual frequency through vibration in concert with Reiki. Also implementing the art of seeing through our heart spaces. Not everybody's going to be able to master that.
Well, that's, that comes with practice. That comes with the practice of a spiritual path, that your heart opens to that, It opens to.
We have to recognize that, Laura.
Mm.
We have to recognize, the human heart, the emotional part of the human heart is probably number one or number two of the hardest for humans to relate to. Yeah. We tend to, oh, that hurts. Not going to look at that again. Or I just feel like such a failure because I don't get that. That's the heart talking to the mind. The heart stuff really can be the hardest challenge for someone on their spiritual path, because they may feel like, I'll never be able to do what Laura Tree can do. So I'm just going to stop now, because if I can't be Laura Tree's thing, then really, or somebody else that they might revere. And it's important for the public to know that you all have your way of learning, your way of accepting. Don't say no when you've only read 3 pages of the book and you're going, what did I just read?
Yeah.
And Alice Bailey, folks, is one of those people, one of those books where I don't care if you get it, read it anyway, and then go back in a week and read it again and you go, oh, that's what that meant. Or one night I was washing dishes and all of a sudden some sentences went rolling through my head and I went, oh, I get that. It was like I was not trying so hard. My mind was focused on something else. So Spirit just said, let's read this now. And I went back to the book and I read it and I got it. So please, public, don't give up.
You said such an important thing, that, you were trying so hard. It's like, just be in it. Just be in it, and just don't push. It's all there. It's all there. All of it.
I had
already in us, actually. It's already with us.
That's important. So much of this we've already done.
Yeah.
There's always new things every lifetime, every year, every generation, every 10 years. There's always something new, or something new that we need to be reminded of. But people will come into class and say, how long is it going to be before I can read like you? There's no way to answer that. How long is it going to be before I'm going to be able?
I'll say that about you.
But and I'll tell them, you don't need to read like me. You need to read like you. I don't get tarot cards. Okay, you don't get tarot cards. But in tarot cards is astrology, numerology, spiritual growth. You can take the 10 of Pentacles, which is the Kabbalah, and study it for years. It's one of those cards that in the Jewish community is highly revered. You do you, is what I tell people. Don't worry about it. Every day, come on to class. Call me. We'll visit. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid of what you don't know or you can't remember. Appreciate what you can. The rest of it will be like a little puppy and will follow you and you'll grow with it. Just take your time. Don't be in a hurry. I love the various modalities to invoke and assist harmonic oneness. I love that term. Harmonic oneness and well-being through sound, stories, tones, Reiki, words, color, breath. Oh, people, take some breath courses, meditation, and movement. That's a lot, Laura.
Well, but it's all interwoven. It's not separate. They're all one, like when we're like just what we're doing here, we're telling stories and we're using words and we're using our hearts and all of it, all of it. And whatever, like you were saying, whatever, oh, I don't get it or this or that, people say those things. True. I mean, we all say those things, but it's all going in our subconscious.
And it's never forgotten because it goes to our super sub.
Yeah.
It's always.
And it's frankly, the only reason we're drawn to it is because it's already there, So, it's all there.
Sometimes somebody just needs to give us a key to remind us of, oh, I get it now. Why does that feel familiar? Public. If something feels familiar and yet you go, I don't need to know that, it feels familiar, you already know it.
Yeah.
It's already there. You've already lived with it. Maybe you taught it. But take a refresher and know that you be reminded how you can use that information on this planet with this group of people in this world, in this generation.
Yeah.
That's important. What if we had to communicate in Shakespearean right now today? And that was the only language. Well, we have evolved, but we can still go back and read Shakespeare and enjoy the beauty of it. Mm-hmm. Or, like Laura was saying, she was reading prose. She had other things going on. It's all within us. But I get upset about books being rewritten in my version, but even tarot books, I get real upset about. I'll pick up a newly written tarot book, and I'm going, that is not what that card means. Because I work on the ancients' work. But if that's how this generation sees it, as long as it doesn't change the meaning, what I call the face value. Okay, but so often I read it and it's a completely different meaning of what the original meant. And I just want to call the editor and say, or the publisher and say, what are you doing with this? This is no. But anyway, but I know we have to change words in order to teach the current generation. But we do not have to defile what the original is. And that's why I tell people, go. Oh, by the way, that site I was trying to remember a while ago is called Public Domain. Public Domain. It has things that are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old.
Really?
And, oh, yeah. And it's a deep dive. Public Domain is tricky because there was a time in our history when only barbershops cut men and women's hair. There were no beauty salons or beauticians, only men. And sometimes they did it with a set of scissors. They didn't have anything electric, or they did it with a knife. So if you're looking for some technique, you have to, in the beauty industry, you may have to use the word barber and follow it forward. You have to realize that some things in today's world is called something different 100 years ago. So when you're doing deep dive, and there are sites on public domain that you can go to get the different words for the same meaning. Okay.
And
but it's a great place to find books.
When you said something about I work with the ancients, that put a little light bulb in my mind. And one of the best teachers is also Manly P. Hall.
Oh, goodness, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
What is it? Mysteries of All the Ages? What is that book?
Hang on. I'll bring it to the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a big book, folks. It's going to fill up your screen. I got to get my chair closer. It doesn't want to move. Oh, there we go.
Yes, Secret Teachings of All Ages.
It's called The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. Now, I'm going to show you a page. Tiny, tiny print. Beautiful pictures. I mean, stunning pictures.
Yeah.
Things like this.
Incredible.
It's a some people would call this a coffee table book, but it is
It's
a
a
series.
compilation. Yeah, it's a
Oh,
compilation of everything, everything.
this is the authorized paperback edition of my work, Manly P. Hall. When I bought this about 15 years ago, it cost $54.95. Now, there are several versions out there of this. I saw one on Amazon not long ago, cost about $20. I'm thinking, how much editing did they do to that sucker?
Right.
So be very careful of this one when you're buying it. Inside it says an encyclopedic outline of Masonic, Hermetic, Kabbalistic, Rosicrucian, symbology, philosophy. That's what it says on the second page. Right up front is a picture of Saint Germain.
Yay.
Now, I'm showing you these because if you don't see these in the book that you buy, you're not buying the right book.
Right. And also, there is a book that's probably about 3 feet long and 2.5 or 2 feet wide. And that's the book I first saw was at a metaphysician's house that was a dear friend. And he was an amazing, amazing person. And he had that in his home, and it was on an easel, and you had to sit on like a bar stool and just sit and turn the pages like this on this huge. It was incredible. It was incredible, and it never left his house.
No, I wouldn't let
And it was the
house.
original. It was the original. So I don't know when that was.
Oh.
I see when that was made. Anyway, incredible.
This is the one that I bought. This one, it's called the Diamond Jubilee Edition, and it was reduced to paperback facsimile. So this is a facsimile of what you saw.
Yes.
They've honored that. Copyright on this one is 1988 by the Philosophical Research Society.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Reprinted 2000. Library of Congress, Manly Palmer Hall, 1901 to 1990. Yeah, long life. Bibliography. This one is published by the Philosophical Research Society. So if these words are not in the book you're buying, don't buy it.
Yes, true.
They've messed with it. Yeah. This book is dedicated to the rational soul of the world. Isn't that awesome?
Yes.
Dedicated to the rational soul of the world. For years, I'd picked this stayed on my desk in my office where I could get to it. And there were times that it would have mounds of paper or something on top of it. But just for grins, I would walk in and open it up and read a page. Even if it had little tiny, tiny, tiny words. I even kept a magnifying glass.
Yeah, I have one of those.
Yeah. And I kept it, right? I still have one in my left drawer here because my vision's even worse than it was then. But these pages are so small. I mean, they're the writing on some of the pages. But yes, public, please, please, please. Okay. Manly P. Hall. Where was I? Okay. I think we went through that. Elevating higher frequencies of light within precious Mother Earth, all beings who reside here and beyond our conscious knowing is my mission in love. I love that, Laura. Okay. Now, folks, I appreciate your patience with all of this. You got to know Laura, but more importantly, you got to know why there is a Laura and that is the biggest lesson of all. She has an open heart, an open mind. She learns every day. She shares what she learns. She doesn't judge. She's very discerning. She's very careful about what she shares with her students and the people that she mentors. Of course, I'm biased, but that's a fact. What I just said is an absolute fact about Laura Tree. So I'm sad that she's leaving the Austin area, but she's going back home where she can put her feet in the ocean and run around barefoot on the sand. And I'm jealous, but when she finds a place to live, she's going to have a guest room and it will have my name. No, I'm just kidding.
Absolutely.
There. So, I don't think you know exactly where you're going.
No, I
Where
don't. I know that I don't know. I don't know. But I know it's going to be the ocean first, and and that will probably be in California, in Seal Beach or Long Beach, California, but I don't know if I'm staying. I don't know. And every time I ask, every time I go within and ask, um I just know I'm moving. I just know I'm moving. So we'll see. We'll see if I stay. um I don't have any roots right now. It's really interesting. So, I've got.
I was thinking about your situation this morning. It's interesting that because of what's happening, you own the house that you're living in, but the city of Austin has made some adjustments in how they're dealing with sections of our city. And it has forced your cul-de-sac residents to make life changes, not just yours, but others as well.
Right.
Even I know where you live, so I know around the where you live, things are now becoming multi-family businesses. Your cul-de-sac is being taken over, and your beautiful little
Extending
home.
up 90 feet.
Yeah. See, so public, if she stayed where she is right now, she would be surrounded by, she'd be the epitome of this little bitty house amongst
I know.
huge buildings. It wouldn't be the same as it is now. Your home is a sweet, sweet place, and it breaks my heart. I wish you could pick that home up and take it with you wherever you were going. Add on to it if you needed space, whatever. But also, public, this woman takes some fantastic pictures of her yard and has all kinds of streaks and orbs, and she posts them on Facebook a lot. And it's what energies she gets are just amazing. And they're never in the same place, never the same shape, and never the same color. Who's trying to communicate with her? We'll talk about that in a future conversation.
No,
I think she should publish her pictures, but it's all there. It's awesome. We're gonna miss your energy here, girl. But I think it's interesting that you say you have no roots, but I think your roots are waiting for you, or spirit would not be forcing you out of that space.
I know. And I know because it's all divine timing, right?
Yeah,
It's all.
right.
So I just think that, whatever this rezoning happened for, whatever reason that happened for, we'll see. We'll see. I have roots in my heart. It's all at my heart, and so I know that I will be put in the right place at the right time, and and all is well. But I know that everything will be just fine. But I think initially I need to have a lot of people I know in that area in California, and a lot of just, spiritual roots there, from what I started, with my own personal practice. So I think that that's going to feel good initially. But once again, whether that's where I'm going to plant myself, that's yet to be seen. So, but you can always get in touch with me on my website. So
Absolutely. Will your phone number stay the change? Your phone number stay the same?
are you kidding? I have an old Austin phone number. Am I going to give that up? No, you can't get the 512 anymore.
What is the other phone number? I don't even know what the other one is. Do we have more than one, or we have more than two or three now?
I don't know. I know there's new area code, and I think it's 7. It starts with a 7, but I don't know what that is.
I
And
was
maybe
thinking
there's
so
two.
too.
Yeah, maybe there's two other. I don't know, but I have the old school one, and I'm keeping it.
Me too. 512.
I love it. Yes.
I,
Yeah.
it wasn't until about a year ago that I even knew there was a second one. I had no clue that they'd added
They
another
did.
one.
Yeah.
So there's no telling how many people I've read for that had a 7 something, and I thought they were out of city or out of state.
Right. I know. Same here.
We're gonna close this session down, public, but I'm not letting Laura off the hook. We're going to get back together again for particular topics if the ones of her choice. And I've made a couple of notes about things that I'm going to try to push her into talking about specifically, focus on. Maybe some of those will not be as long as this. And this is over an hour, hour and a half, and well, 2.5 hours, which is what we designated for today. So it will probably be edited into maybe 2 sessions because the public doesn't, maybe 3. The public doesn't like to stick around for too long. They get bored unless they're in the car and no, it's going to be a long podcast. Public, however long you stayed, we both appreciate it. I know I certainly do. I look forward to more sharing of Laura's time and energy as much as I can steal, but I don't know when we will do that again because her property may sell and she'll start packing her goodies up if she hasn't already. And if you need another set of hands and boxes, you know who to call.
Thank you. Well, we can Zoom anywhere.
Yes, that's true. But when you're in the midst of trying to pack and move and do things, we need to stay focused. Sometimes we just need to stay focused, but we're not sure how long that's going to be. So we may end up doing another session, but
I'd like
Laura
that.
will be, I would love it. As many as we can steal from you. Laura will be under our legends category. There will be newbies, established, the ancients and legends, and she'll certainly be in both categories, those last 2 categories. So you'll be able to find her easily. She'll keep up with us. She'll let us know when she writes those books, when she's going to be teaching those classes, and we'll post it on the website. So you will have access to her classes and such. If you happen to be local, go, be in her energy.
I'm here.
Yeah. Whatever she does on Zoom in and be a part of it. Her wealth of knowledge and experience is pretty much endless, and she'll keep adding to it. So probably keep in touch.
Thank you.
I hate to say goodbye for now. Thank you. I'm excited that you took time. Thank you. I know you're busy. Mwah. We're going to say goodbye for now, folks. Thank you. Anything? Wait. Anything you want to leave with the public?
Just go with your heart. Don't let somebody else tell you what you need. Go with your own heart and follow it, because that'll put you in the right direction. And once you start doing that, then all these things start appearing once you follow your own heart, not how somebody says it's supposed to be or how the world is supposed to be. Just do your own thing from your heart.
That's
if your
the
heart
title of your
like what you're doing, if your heart doesn't like what you're doing, change it. Because the first thing we always have is choice, always, in every situation. So much love. Thank you.
I'm so glad you said that. Thank you for leaving those words with us. Mwah! Take care, honey.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into The Conversations with the Ancients, where we take you on a journey where you'll hear voices of metaphysicians from the past, as well as today's spirit mediums, healers, and others who show you a side of the paranormal you've never seen before. Remember to visit our website at conversationswiththeancients.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on Conversations with the Ancients.